Hey parents, this is Coach Bordner, and what I'm going to do in this video is articulate the philosophy behind our program. This is not going to be an esoteric armchair discussion. I hope that throughout this video I explain exactly what it is you're going to get when you sign your youth up for wrestling. Of course, we're not perfect in anything I'm about to describe and talk about. We fall short in a lot of this, but this is what we strive for. This is the goal. And so it's my hope that when you come into our room, when you interact with our staff and our families that are already in our club, this is what you see. Because this is what we are striving to be about. And I figured that's good information for everybody involved here. So, without further ado, let me jump right in. Our club stands upon three pillars broadly defined. The first pillar is that we seek to instill a simple enjoyment of wrestling in the athletes that come through our club. And you might figure this kind of goes without saying, but I do need to say it and describe it because it ties closely into the second pillar, development, that I'm going to talk about in just a second. But for now, pretty much everything else that I'm going to say, whether it be a character or life skill or an athletic skill or just being successful in wrestling, no matter what it is that comes next, it all starts here. If your youth does not have an enjoyment of wrestling at some level, then everything else is going to be an uphill battle. But by contrast, if he or she does enjoy wrestling and like it, then a lot of things are going to go easier. Coming to practice on time, consistently, going to the competitions, striving hard, all of that is going to be much easier with an enjoyment of wrestling. And that doesn't mean that we want everything to be just hunky-dory and butterflies and rainbows. This is a tough sport, and so it's not like video game enjoyment or video game fun. That's kind of like a time sink. But if our philosophy is that if you participate in our club for a length of time and you put in your dues, then you're going to get a very meaningful experience out of it, and meaningful in the sense of deep and joyful in a deeper sense than a lot of the other kind of fluff fun activities are. So that's goal number one. Instill that enjoyment of the sport. Make it naturally fun. Number two, we are a developmental club. The best way that I can describe this is by pointing to the difference in baseball between a developmental club like the Capo Cats in Mission Viejo and like a travel ball club. Now I know that I might be muddying distinction here just a little bit, but just kind of go with me for the sake of conversation here. Travel ball, the focus is of course on travel games, and you're going to games all the time, and it's really intense. By contrast, the Capo Cats is more of a developmental skill program where the goal is to teach the baseball player the skills necessary to be able to play baseball and exceed at the high school level. Now don't get me wrong, they're not a recreational club, and they go to competitions, they have games, and there are commitments, all that. It's not like the romper room. And like I said, I'm kind of some of these distinctions might not apply black and white to baseball here, but the Capo Cats it's not travel ball. Okay, so there's going to be a little bit different feel to it. Same thing with our club. We love winning. We go to competitions. That is definitely a stress of our club, and we want kids to be successful. But we have a long-term focus. And when your kid gets to high school, he has the fundamental skills necessary to jump right into the varsity level and make an impact and be successful. And so while winning is important, it's not the only thing in our club. We coach both athletes and parents to have a vision for the long term, to progress the skills little by little by little, day after day after day, so that when you get to high school, you're ready to go. And then thirdly, and this is what I'm going to spend most of my comments on in this video, we seek to teach character and life skills. That's really the ultimate bottom line. What we're about is teaching these kids to be champions, not just on the mat, but off the mat as well. And in this regard, we have 6 habits that we try to instill in the kids. And they're communicated by these pithy little one-liners that everybody can easily remember. The first one comes from one of a coach that I look up to a lot, Tom Ryan from Ohio State. Now, I was never coached by Tom Ryan. He assumed the head coach position after I had graduated. But nevertheless, I've interacted with him some, I've talked with him some, I got a chance to interview him and follow the way that he coaches a lot and just kind of try to emulate what he does. And so this first one comes straight from him. We seek to teach kids to be masters of consistency. What that means is very simple. Show up every day with a great attitude. And if you can master that, then you can get far in anything, no matter what your natural talent ability is. I think anybody in the business world knows and will testify to the fact that in that world, in the business world, nobody is an overnight success. There is no such thing. Things that look like an overnight success were preceded by years and years and years of hard toil. It's like what Twitter founder or co-founder Biz Stone said, timing, perseverance, and 10 years of trying will eventually make you look like an overnight success. And 19th or 20th century reformer Jacob Riis says something similar. He says this: when nothing seems to help, I go and look at a stonecutter hammering away at his rock, perhaps 100 times, without even as much as a crack showing in it. Yet at the 101st blow, it will split into 2, and I know it was not that blow that did it, but all that had gone before. And so, if your kid gets this down, not only is he going to be a monster in wrestling eventually, but he's going to be successful in pretty much anything he does. So we're trying to teach them that life skill. Secondly, we want them to be landlords of their minds. And what does that mean? Well, it's very simple. I think it was Chuck Swindoll who said something, I'm paraphrasing here. Life or success is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. Our kids, or we're trying to teach them that they have control over the thoughts that they let enter their mind and the beliefs that they entertain. Most matches in the wrestling mat are won even before the combatants step on the mat. Alexander Karelin was famous for saying that. He said, I've beat every single one of my opponents before I stepped on the mat. It's because he was such an intimidating force, and the opponent would kind of look at him across the mat and just be freaked out by him. And so, his reputation preceded his action, and that won him a lot of matches. So we want to seek to prevent that and teach them to have that sort of mental self-control. Thirdly, we want them to be humble and coachable. I think this will come as music to the ears of a lot of parents, because we know that kids sometimes push back against parental authorities needlessly, and we're trying to help them out and care for them, but the kid just resists, for whatever reason. It's just youth, So we want to tell them that, learn to listen. Be coachable. The adults in your life, the old gray hairs, have a lot of wisdom to give you if you'll just let them, and you will get a lot farther by not resisting that than vice versa. Next, we want them to be their own best coach. And this we can easily miscommunicate what we mean here. We don't mean you do you, you're an individual, you do what you want, or you don't need anybody else, you coach yourself, you know what's best for you. We're not communicating that. Quite the opposite. Rather, what that means is do you have the ability to work just as hard with just as much integrity when no one's watching than when the coach is standing over looking at you. You know, when the coach turns his back and you're doing push-ups, are you going to take a knee and rest? Or are you going to keep doing the push-ups with perfect form just like you would be if he was looking at you? So it's kind of like an integrity thing. And then we teach them to be faithful and loyal, to give themselves to something bigger than themselves. It's not just about you. It's not just about your little trophy case. Virtually nothing in life is. Each kid is a member of a team, of a group, and each person is accountable to the next. You're accountable to your teammates, and your teammates are accountable to you, so let's act like it. So be loyal, be faithful. And then last but certainly not least, we teach them to be finishers, not quitters. There is an abundance of quitters and yet a dearth of persistence and perseverance in today's society, and we seek to, in our own simple way, reverse that and teach kids to not go that way. So the trend is these days that if it gets hard for a time, if I don't like it for a time, as soon as I lose that spark, I quit. And that's sad because that's not going to get you anywhere in life. Anything, even if it's enjoyable, it's going to have its drudgery days, and you're going to have your setbacks. I mean, we want to teach kids, kind of like this meme here on the screen communicates. I want to teach them to persevere through all that, because that's how you get to your goals. How much of a shame would it be if the little stick figure in this picture quits the journey when he's in the little boat there? How many times in life have we seen that sort of principle at work? So those are the 6 life habits that we seek to instill in the kids. I think if you take a look at the amount of time that I've spent here talking, you will see that what we are about mostly is character and life lessons. So that's it for this video. What I'm going to do in the next video is kind of answer the question of what this looks like. So the philosophy is all well and good, but what does it look like when applied? What should you see in our club? So stay tuned.